What if the most dangerous prison wasn't built with bricks, barbed wire, or steel, but with your own habits? Imagine for a moment that the jailer isn't a cosmic tyrant hiding in the clouds, but something far closer. The reflex that grabs at what feels good and recoils from what feels bad. That's not fantasy, it's the architecture of everyday life. In Buddhism, we call this prison samsara, the endless spinning wheel of reactions. In Gnostic tradition, it's the false creator, a demiurge weaving illusion. And in the Pali Canon, the Buddha calls it Mara, the subtle force of fear, desire, and confusion that keeps you dancing in circles. Different names, same trap. A reality mistaken, a self mistaken. History shows us how often people live inside cages without realizing it. In ancient Rome, gladiators fought to entertain crowds, believing victory meant freedom, when in truth the empire itself was the arena. In China's Qin dynasty, scholars were silenced and books burned, not by visible chains but by the manipulation of thought itself. In America, the Industrial Revolution promised progress, yet left generations chained to factory bells and 12-hour shifts. These weren't just political systems, they were patterns that shaped how people breathed, worked, and even dreamed. Just like samsara, the walls weren't visible, but the conditioning was everywhere. Astrology mirrors this story on the cosmic level. Saturn, the great taskmaster, symbolizes boundaries, cycles, and the weight of time. When you meet Saturn in its shadow, life feels like lead, repetition, burden, delay. Yet when you face Saturn with clarity, its lessons ripen into discipline, maturity, and deep freedom. Saturn isn't your enemy, your attachment to permanence is. And just as Saturn's rings appear solid yet are made of countless fragments of ice and dust, our prisons look impenetrable but are made only of perceptions and habits. Even the Buddha's own story begins with this realization. Sheltered in a palace, he saw sickness, old age, and death for the first time and realized the golden walls of privilege were not protection but a prison of ignorance. His awakening wasn't about waging war on some cosmic villain, but about seeing reality so clearly that delusion lost its grip. Tonight on Dharma Veins, we'll explore how these old stories, the false architect, Mara's temptations, Saturn's weight, translate into practices for your daily life. We'll examine the machinery of the trap, not to rage against it, but to see through it. Because when you see the pattern, its power fades. We'll explore how to step from karma, the groove of compulsion, into dharma, the path of freedom, in a single breath. And we'll do it with stories from history, parables from the Dharma, reflections from the stars, and even a 5-step lamp in the heart practice you can try before sleep tonight. If that resonates, stay with me until the end, and subscribe to Dharma Veins, where timeless wisdom meets the clarity you can use every single day. Chapter 1: Two Maps of the Same Trap, Expanded. Gnosticism and Buddhism are two languages describing the same prison. One calls it the demiurge and his archons, a control system that keeps you looping. The other calls it Mara, the push-pull forces inside you that seduce the mind back into old grooves. Different myths, same warning. The bars aren't out there. They're close to the skin. Look at how the trap assembles itself. Moment by moment, ignorance mistakes flicker for solidity and treats whatever passes through experience as a fixed me. A short text lands cold and instantly blossoms into a story. They don't respect me. The story becomes a mood. The mood becomes a day. Discomfort shows up. Craving snaps for a fix, scroll. Snack, snap at someone, and once relief hits, cleaning files. The move is policy. Do this again. All day long you're born into micro-identities, the ignored one at 9:07. The hero at 11:15. The failure by late afternoon, each identity recruiting thoughts, posture, breath, even your social circle to keep it alive. Buddhism doesn't waste time hunting a cosmic perpetrator. It asks the power question. How is this loop being built right now? In this breath? In this body? That pivot hands the key back to you. You can watch it in everyday scenes. A curt work email lands like ice. Ignorance whispers, "This is definitely about you." Craving lunges for vindication. Cleaning drafts a spicy reply. Pause. Name what's happening. Contact. Feeling. Perception. Formation. Consciousness. And watch the storyline lose oxygen. Or it's midnight and the fridge glows like salvation. The demiurge voice says, "You deserve this." The Mara voice says, "Just this once." Meet it with a gentle, "Mara, I see you." Then feel the urge as raw sensation. Pressure in the throat. Heat in the cheeks. A pull in the gut. Don't fight it and don't feed it. Breathe through the crest. Even spiritual pride slips in wearing white robes. You share your meditation streak. Someone shares theirs. And a subtle superiority blooms. That's counterfeit light, holy on the surface, sticky underneath. Smile and say, "Ah, conceit," and let it pass without hating yourself. The Dharma gives you stories that land. Under the Bodhi tree, Mara hurled fear, desire, and doubt. The Buddha didn't swing back, he touched the earth, pure reality. In our terms, when the mind storms, ground attention in what never lies, feet on the floor. The rise and fall of breath. The weight of your palms. Touch the earth and let the body confirm the moment. Think of the monk and the lute. He practiced too hard. Then too slack. The Buddha said the well-tuned string is neither. That's the anti-Archan setting, steady, sustainable effort. If practice makes you brittle or grandiose, loosen. If it makes you dull, brighten. And remember the raft. The teaching is a raft, not an identity. Cross the river. Then don't wear the raft like a hat. Any method becomes a prison if you cling to it. Keep means as means. Short practices help you cut loops without drama. Try, Mara, I see you. Close your eyes. Find one live urge, the impulse to fix, flee, or perform. Ask, where is it in the body? Keep your attention on sensation, not story. For 5 slow breaths, whisper, seen, and notice the urge drop from contact without purchase. Or run the 3 marks in 60 seconds. Pick one sensation, the hum in your hands, and feel its microwaves, impermanence. Watch the mind's chasing or resisting, unsatisfactoriness. And sense how it happens without a controller, not self. Or dose loving kindness in 30 seconds. Picture someone easy to love, may you be safe. May your heart rest. Then someone neutral. Then someone mildly difficult. If the third spikes, widen the breath and have the phrase, safe. Rest. You just cut 3 wires, fear, aversion, fixation. Astrology can be a mirror, not a master, for seeing patterns. Saturn's clean side is structure. Its shadow is calcification. The demiurge vibe of, only this way. Ask, is this boundary life-giving or fear-driven? Mars can be courage that cuts loops or aggression that feeds them. Give it a clear, brief channel. Say the hard truth kindly. Then stop. Venus can be genuine connection or approval chasing. Check. Am I trading authenticity for applause? Mercury either names reality cleanly or spins epics. Keep it serving direct observation. Treat nodal pivots as invitations to review your habit contracts. What cycle have I outgrown? And what 2-minute daily act would honor the upgrade? If any reading makes you fatalistic or grandiose, that's counterfeit light again. The Dharma test remains the same. Does this reduce greed, hatred, and delusion? When genuine goodwill appears, you're seeing through the mesh. It isn't Mara's web, it's the mind remembering home. Aim loving kindness first at a part of you you usually bully, the procrastinator, the perfectionist. May you be safe. Harsh inner regimes are just Saturn used poorly. Let compassion notice suffering and the wish to relieve it without savior theatrics. Do one small thing well. Practice appreciative joy by celebrating other people's wins to undercut scarcity. Send one sincere congrats daily. Hold equanimity as love with a wide frame. Say, this too. Then choose the next wise step. Make the day your lab. Before replying to a provocative message, name 5 sense contacts, 2 sights, 2 sounds, 1 body feel. Then write your first sentence as if it will be printed on a billboard with your name under it. Hit send only if it still reads clean. When the evening craving hits, switch the loop. 10 slow squats or a 60-second wall sit. Teach the body a new reflex, energy up instead of sugar in. Before posting on social, ask, am I teaching or performing? If it's performance, reduce by 20%, 1 fewer adjective, 1 less humble brag, 1 truer sentence. Spot counterfeit light by its aftertaste. If practice makes you harsher with ordinary people. If your identity as awake keeps demanding recognition. If you talk more about states than about reducing harm. Or if you quietly need others to be less conscious, so you can be more. Reset. Do 1 menial act with full care, wash a cup, sweep a floor, answer the message you've avoided, and dedicate it privately, for the easing of suffering. No announcement, just goodness. When the loop bites hard, use a 1-page reset. Name it. Mara, I see you. Locate it as sensation. Breathe 4 in, 6 out for 10 rounds. Offer a simple kindness phrase, may this being be safe, yes. To yourself. Take 1 clean action. Send the apology. Drink water. Step into daylight. Close the gate with, enough for now, and return to your task. When a Gnostic says, demiurge, hear, system of fixation. When a Buddhist says, Mara, hear, the seduction to re-loop. Both maps point to the same move. See clearly. Loosen the grip, and act from whatever in you stays kind when everything else changes. The instant you make that move, even for 1 breath, the bars don't shatter, they stop mattering. Chapter 2, Time, Saturn, and the Buddhist Clock. Saturn has always carried the image of the strict taskmaster, the keeper of time. The bringer of limits. The planet ancient astrologers called the Great Malefic. It's heavy like lead, slow, and unyielding. Esoteric traditions link this same Saturnian weight to the demiurge, the force that crystallizes life into rigid patterns, making us believe change is impossible. But Buddhism responds with a radical insight. Nothing holds still. Anicca, impermanence, means every form, no matter how solid it seems, is already in motion, already on its way to becoming something else. The prison isn't time. The prison is our refusal to let things pass. Think of a bell in a monastery. A monk strikes it, and sound swells into the room. At first it's full and round. Then it fades into a thin thread, until silence returns. If you try to hold the sound in place, frustration rises. If you try to push it away, you miss its beauty. But if you allow the full arc, beginning, middle, end, you experience freedom inside the flow. Equanimity is not numbness. It's the willingness to walk with the sound as it comes and goes. Astrology frames this tension in the language of Saturn. When Saturn's energy is skillfully met, it matures us, discipline, patience, long-term effort. But in its shadow, Saturn calcifies, turning living spirit into heavy routines, obligations that choke rather than guide. It's like mistaking the potter's wheel for the final product. The wheel spins endlessly, but clay only becomes a bowl when shaped with attention and wisdom. Samsara without insight feels like grinding repetition. Samsara with wisdom is training, refinement, transformation. Time itself is the kiln. Awareness is the glaze that makes experience durable and beautiful. There's a Zen story of a farmer who looked at the changing seasons and felt trapped. Winter always returns, he sighed. His teacher pointed to the orchard. Yes, but each winter carves the sweetness of next year's fruit. Would you call that a prison? This is Saturn seen correctly. What feels like limitation can become the ground of ripening if we don't fight impermanence. Even folklore carries the same truth. In many cultures, Saturn is tied to old age and harvest. The old man with the scythe doesn't just cut down, he gathers what has matured. Time doesn't only take, it also reveals what is real. Lead, Saturn's metal, is the heaviest, but alchemy taught that even lead could be transformed into gold through patient refinement. Likewise, our routines, when seen with mindfulness, become the crucible for awakening instead of the bars of a cage. A simple practice can retrain the nervous system to trust change. At the top of each hour, pause and take 3 conscious breaths. With the first, silently note, arising. With the second, abiding. With the third, dissolving. Nothing mystical, just a reminder that every moment has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Over time, you'll notice fear softens. Change no longer feels like loss, it feels like the natural music of existence. In astrology, Saturn transits often feel heavy, delays, responsibilities, endings. In Buddhist language, this is the weight of clinging rubbing against impermanence. But if you lean into it with awareness, the same transit becomes a teacher of maturity. Saturn isn't the enemy, our grasping is. The Buddha put it simply, whatever has the nature to arise has the nature to cease. The bell fades, the clay spins, the orchard ripens. Saturn may measure your days, but wisdom teaches you how to live them. When you stop fighting impermanence, time ceases to be a jailer and becomes a guide. Every breath is proof. Arising, abiding, dissolving. Chapter 3. The Archons within. Clichés as enforcers. Archons aren't only mythic jailers from dusty texts. They live in us as clichés, defilements that wear many disguises. Sometimes they show up in institutions or teachers who demand blind loyalty. Other times, they slip into our own minds as voices of counterfeit light. You're holier than them. You've already arrived. You're the chosen one. Buddhism doesn't sugarcoat it. Even a thought wrapped in sacred language can be an archon if it inflames craving, aversion, or delusion. Astrology paints a similar picture. Think of Neptune, planet of dreams and illusions. In its higher octave, Neptune dissolves the ego and opens compassion. But in shadow, it tricks us with glamour and false visions. A person lost in Neptune's fog may follow a guru blindly, mistake sentimentality for wisdom, or get addicted to chasing mystical highs. This is no different from spiritual pride in Buddhism. Both traditions caution us. It's not the costume that matters but the effect. Does it free the heart? Or does it bind it tighter? The Buddha offered a simple diagnostic, almost like a cosmic checklist. When a belief or impulse rises, ask 3 questions. Does this soften or inflame aversion? Does it loosen or tighten my grip? Does it clarify or fog my awareness? If it inflames, tightens, or clouds, you've likely just shaken hands with an archon in Buddhist clothing. There's a story about a monk who had visions of radiant beings visiting him in meditation. He became convinced he was chosen to guide others. The teacher listened quietly and then asked, "Did your visions reduce greed, hatred, and delusion?" The monk realized that after every vision, he became more self-satisfied and less patient with others. The teacher smiled. Then Mara has simply learned to glow. Just like that, the mask dropped. A parable says there were 2 ferries on a foggy river. The first captain shouted, "Only my boat is safe." The second whispered, "Boats are lies, only swim." Most drowned between absolutism and naivete. Then came a wise ferryman who said, "Boat when the water is rough. Swim when it is calm. And always use discernment." Buddhist practice works the same way. Don't cling to forms as if they're the only way. But don't reject them completely either. Treat methods like rafts, use them to cross. Then set them down. We even see this lesson in Saturn's influence. Saturn's shadow can harden into rigid dogma. Rules for the sake of rules. But Saturn's wisdom is discernment, discipline, and right timing. It asks us to test what is durable and real. In the same way, Buddhist practice asks, does this method help me see clearly and love more? If yes, keep it. If no, let it go. A short practice can save you from getting pulled into spiritual fog. Before you post online, correct someone, or preach for the Dharma, pause for 30 seconds. Ask, right now, is this reducing greed, hatred, or delusion in me? If the honest answer is no, revise or refrain. That single pause is like Saturn's ring, a boundary that keeps the inner cosmos clean. Archons within don't vanish overnight, but each time you recognize them, name them, and refuse to be fooled by their robes, whether glittering like Neptune or stern like Saturn, you break one more thread of the net. Chapter 4. Identity as a mask. Not self versus ego inflation. Identity is useful until it hardens. The mind needs a name tag to navigate the day: parent, manager, creator, caregiver, but the tag isn't the person. In Gnostic terms, the inner demiurge is that reflex to freeze yourself into a role and then defend it at all costs. Buddhism is blunt here. Anatta doesn't say you're a ghost. It says that you clutch as a moving pattern, sensations, feelings, perceptions, formations, consciousness, constantly assembling and dissolving. The suffering starts when we turn a passing configuration into a throne. You can feel the difference in your body. When a role becomes a mask, shoulders creep up, jaw sets, breath thins. Say you're the reliable one. It works, until you're exhausted and someone asks for more. Instead of a clear, no, the mask answers for you. I can't disappoint. That's not compassion. That's fear dressed as virtue. Or you're the awakened one. You meditate, eat clean, quote sutras, and quietly need people to see it. The moment they don't, heat rises in the chest. That's Mara in saffron. Ego inflation using spiritual fabric. Astrology gives a vivid mirror. The Sun and Leo archetype are about healthy radiance, being someone shining warmly. In shadow, they slip into performance, spotlight hunger. Brand as self. The North Node pulls you toward growth. The South Node is comfort that calcifies. People stuck in a South Node identity keep replaying the same role, even if it's good, because it's familiar. Real growth feels a little naked. Pluto shows up when life peels a mask off, power struggles. Shame, raw truth. Pluto isn't punishing you, it's composting what can't be carried further. Buddhism would say, a self you can only keep by clinging was never yours to begin with. A monastery story makes it simple. A monk had perfect ritual form, flawless bows, pristine robe folds, the whole set. Inside, he kept score. Better than him, worse than her, superior to them. His teacher put him on the clumsiest chores, ash bucket, muddy path, squeaky cart, jobs no one praises. 2 weeks in, the monk broke. Then something soft happened. I still sweep, he said, but I don't sweep someone anymore. Action remained. The glue was gone. This is not self-erasure, it's friction erasure. Work still gets done, better. Even, because it's not feeding a hungry mask. Try this the next time praise or blame hits you like a wave. Run it through the 5 aggregates. Contact. Sound of the words. Feel of the phone in your hand. Feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Just pick one. Perception. The mental label, approval. Rejection. Threat. Love. Formation. The reaction, urge to brag. Hide. Argue. Prove. Consciousness. Knowing of the whole swirl. Name each layer out loud. Slowly. Watch how the me shrinks from a monolith to moving parts. The event doesn't disappear, the stickiness does. That's the whole game. A short meditation seals the habit. 1. Mask spotting, 90 seconds. Ask. What mask am I wearing right now? Say it plainly, expert. Good person. Misunderstood 1. Stoic. Rescuer. Feel where it sits. Throat. Solar plexus. Eyes. Breathe into that spot for 10 slow counts. Let the breath widen and soften the edges. 2. Role releasing, 60 seconds. Whisper. I can play this role without becoming it. Move one part of the body differently from the role's posture. Drop the shoulders if the mask puffs up. Lift the sternum if it collapses. Signal the nervous system. Safe to be fluid. Folk tales echo the same teaching. There's a story of a village actor who wore the hero mask so long he forgot his face. An old woman, part trickster, part saint, asked him to carry water to the shrine at dawn for 40 days. In silence. No audience. No applause. On day 41 he returned the mask to the stage and realized it was just lacquer and strain. He didn't stop acting, he started choosing his roles. That's the pivot from ego inflation to skillful means. In relationships, identity masks are sticky. The strong one never cries. The funny one never speaks plainly. The spiritual one never says, I'm hurt. When you feel that rigidity, try a micro-honesty. One simple sentence that doesn't defend a role, I'm tired, I need 20 minutes. Or, that stung. Can we slow down? Saturn, astrologically, loves this. A clean boundary. No theater. The Dharma loves it more, less delusion, less harm. Watch for the spiritual mask that hides in good deeds. It says yes to every request. Then resents the world. It corrects others, for their growth. But secretly needs to be right. It posts wisdom. Then checks the likes. The fix is not self-hate. It's wise attention, yoniso manasikara. 3 diagnostics cut through quickly. 1. Does this soften or inflame aversion? 2. Does it loosen or tighten grasping? 3. Does it clarify or fog awareness? If it inflames, tightens, or fogs, step back. If you're about to teach someone a lesson, breathe 4 counts in, 6 out, 5 rounds. Then ask, what would reduce suffering here, truly? Sometimes it's a firm no. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's an apology. There's also the mask of broken me, which can be as sticky as awakened me. People bond to wounds because wounds explain everything. Astrology's Chiron archetype, the wounded healer, reminds us the point isn't to live inside the scar. It's to let the scar teach skillful care. Buddhism's take is precise. Pain is real. But the self built entirely around pain is optional. When tenderness replaces identity, compassion grows without the performance. One more pocket practice for heat moments. Hear the praise or blame. Say, contact, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. Place a hand on the chest. Whisper, let this pass through. Do one ordinary, useful act. Wash a cup. Straighten a chair. Reply kindly to a small message. Move on without announcing your virtue. The ego starves when goodness doesn't feed it. Identity, used well, is a tool, like a jacket you wear for the weather. When the sun changes, you change the jacket. The American myth says, be yourself. The Dharma amends it. Know the selves you're wearing, and don't mistake any of them for your face. When you forget, Mara tightens the mask. When you remember, the mask becomes what it always was, a prop you can set down. Chapter 5. Karma versus Dharma in Buddhist terms. Karma is like the grooves on an old vinyl record. Each thought, each intention, cuts a line, and the needle of your life keeps falling into the same track. Dharma is the law of reality itself, the way things actually move when you're not forcing them. To live in karma is to replay. To live in Dharma is to respond fresh. The Buddha said karma is sadhana, intention. Dharma is Dhamma, the truth of how things are and the path that harmonizes with it. You can see the difference in daily choices. A friend snaps at you. Karma reacts, the groove of pride, the groove of anger, the groove of silence and withdrawal. Dharma pauses. Mindfulness notices the sting. Wisdom waits for clarity. Compassion asks, what reduces suffering here? Maybe the best move is to say nothing until tomorrow. Maybe it's to name the hurt gently. The action is not automatic, it's chosen. That's the step out of the groove. Astrology reflects this tension. The south node is karmic repetition, comfort zones, old contracts, what I've always done. The north node is Dharma's pull, uncomfortable growth, new terrain. Saturn too plays a role. When Saturn is karma, it feels like heavy loops. You always hit this wall at age 30, 40, 50. When Saturn is Dharma, it's discipline that matures you, boundaries that free you instead of bind you. In both traditions, the test isn't mystical, it's practical. Does this action move me deeper into delusion? Or does it thin it out? The Buddha gave simple criteria. 3 tests for a dharmic act. 1. Clarity test. If the mind is foggy or agitated, pause. Don't move when the water is muddy. Wait until you can see the bottom again. 2. Compassion test. Does this reduce suffering for myself and for others? Even if it's uncomfortable in the moment. The deeper current should be toward release. 3. Containment test. Will this action still feel stable tomorrow? Or is it just a dopamine spike? Dharma feels like a steady lamp, not a firework. Stories make it clear. A monk once asked the Buddha whether karma is like fate. The Buddha replied with an image. If you drop a seed in dry ground, it will not grow. If you drop it in fertile soil, it will. Karma is the seed. Dharma is the soil conditions. You're not doomed to repeat everything. With awareness, you can change the field itself. Or take the tale of 2 villagers. One planted mango trees for quick fruit. The other planted bamboo knowing it would take years. The first enjoyed sweetness for a season. Then his orchard rotted. The second waited. Then had bamboo strong enough to build homes, bridges, even boats. Karma grabs what is immediate. Dharma invests in what endures. A short practice makes this simple. Before a consequential choice, write 1 sentence. If everyone copied this action today, would the world suffer more or less? If the answer is less, proceed slowly. If the answer is more, pause and breathe. That pause itself is Dharma entering the groove. We can even see it in the stars. When Mars drives unchecked, it fuels karmic wars, old fights replayed. Generational rage. When Mars is guided by Dharma, it becomes courage, energy directed toward truth-telling and clean action. Venus in karma is clinging. I need you to validate me. Venus in Dharma is love that blesses without chains. Neptune in karma is self-deception. Neptune in Dharma is surrender to something vast. Living in Dharma doesn't mean floating above life. It means meeting karma as material and choosing how to shape it. Like clay on the wheel. Grooves are there, but in the hands of awareness. The grooves become lines of a vessel that can hold water. Without wisdom, the wheel spins endlessly. With wisdom, the wheel makes form, purpose, and beauty. Karma is the replay button. Dharma is the composer's pen. One keeps writing the same bar of music, the other opens the score to new movements. The choice happens in each breath, in each pause before the next word. Chapter 6. The Eightfold Path as the Anti-Loop Technology. The Eightfold Path is less a moral checklist and more like a wiring diagram for freedom. Where Gnostic stories talk about cosmic archons and prisons, the Buddha hands you tools to cut the cords one by one. Each factor severs a different loop. Right view is learning to see the world through impermanence, stress, and not self. It's like putting on the right pair of glasses. Without it, you mistake smoke for fire and shadows for monsters. Astrology reflects this in Saturn transits. When you see the reality of limits, you stop fighting the wrong battles. Saturn matures your vision. Right view matures your perspective. Right intention is the shift in your inner compass, aiming at less clinging. More goodwill, less harm. Think of Mars here. In shadow, Mars is the endless fight. In Dharma, Mars is clean courage, the same fire, but pointed with clarity. Right speech might be the most practical. Words can inflame karma faster than anything. Before you speak, 3 gates. Is it true? Is it beneficial? Is it timely? There's a story of a monk who kept silence for 7 years. Then finally spoke, and his words healed a rift between villages. He understood timing as much as truth. Mercury in astrology is the same, sharp when ungrounded, but life-giving when yoked to wisdom. Right action protects the body from feeding the loop. No killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. These aren't arbitrary rules, they're the baseline of not adding poison into the well you also drink from. A farmer who keeps sowing weeds shouldn't be surprised when his harvest is bitter. Dharma is planting what you actually want to eat. Right livelihood is often overlooked but critical. If your work corrodes the heart, no amount of meditation will balance it out. It's like Neptune's shadow. You can convince yourself you're helping while selling illusions. Dharma asks, does your income support clarity or confusion? Right effort is the steady Saturn discipline of tending the mind. Prevent what is unwholesome, cultivate what is wholesome, maintain what is good, and let go of what is harmful. It's gardening, not warfare. Pull weeds, water flowers. Right mindfulness is training the spotlight of awareness. Body, feelings, mind, and patterns of mind. A simple 1-minute practice. When you drink water, feel the temperature. Notice the swallow. Watch the thought that says, move on. That moment is mindfulness in action. It's Jupiter's gift of expansion. But here it expands clarity, not distraction. Right concentration steadies everything. Collectedness is like building a fire pit. The flames of insight can rise higher without burning the village down. Pluto transits often feel like intensity without container. Right concentration is the container that makes transformation safe. Each factor slices through a different knot of the net. They aren't abstract ideals, they're lived, tested, and visible in results. You know it's working because greed softens, hatred loosens, and confusion clears, even a little. Try this as a real practice. Choose 2 factors for a 30-day cycle. Maybe right speech and right mindfulness. Every evening, jot down 1 moment you reduced harm with your words and 1 moment you missed. No self-punishment, just gentle iteration. Over time, the grooves change, the loops weaken, Dharma grows. The Eightfold Path is not 8 separate roads, it's 8 strands of the same rope. Hold any one tightly and the others strengthen. Let them weave together and you have a lifeline strong enough to pull you out of any cycle. No matter how ancient it feels. Chapter 7. Counterfeit Light. How to discern. Mystical highs can be seductive. A vision, a rush of bliss, a moment of floating outside the body. These can feel like proof of progress. Buddhism doesn't dismiss them, but it does strip away the glamour. The Buddha warned that pity, rapture, can be intoxicating but empty if it isn't paired with wisdom. The measure of progress is never, did something spectacular happen? But always, did clinging diminish? Astrology echoes the same caution. Neptune, planet of dreams and transcendence, can open doors to compassion and imagination. But in shadow, Neptune traps us in illusion, falling in love with the dream itself rather than what it teaches. A Neptune transit can feel like a spiritual awakening, yet if it leaves you more attached to your specialness than before, it's just another fog. Saturn, in contrast, checks illusions. Saturn asks, what remains steady after the vision fades? If your practice can survive a Saturn test, daily chores, honest accountability, long-term patience, it's real. The Buddha offered a practical checklist for discernment. Are you becoming more patient with ordinary people? Are you less fascinated with my state and more attuned to the suffering around you? Do you admit fault more easily? Are you more honest about your triggers? Is your craving for applause quieter than before? If not, go back to basics. One Ajahn put it bluntly, if meditation makes you cranky, start over. Stories help anchor this truth. A young monk once saw radiant lights during meditation. He ran to his teacher, bursting with pride. The teacher asked, when the light comes, are you kinder to the cook? The monk paused. He realized he was still snapping at small irritations. The teacher smiled. Then it's just Mara with a lantern. Another tale tells of a villager who dreamed of God's blessing him with gold. He woke with joy, but instead of working his field, he spent weeks waiting for more dreams. His crops rotted. Dreams are fine, but Dharma is tested in harvest, not fantasy. The simplest practice for grounding after a big sitting is this: wash a cup. Do it with full attention, and hold kind thoughts for whoever drinks from it next. If you feel the act is beneath you, that's the ego, Mara, sneaking back. The cup doesn't need your disdain, it needs your care. Think of Pluto in astrology. Pluto strips illusions, dragging hidden attachments into the open. A spiritual practice that can't survive Pluto's glare, raw honesty, loss, endings, was never Dharma to begin with. Dharma is what remains steady when both Neptune's visions and Pluto's purges pass. In daily life, counterfeit light shows up whenever your practice makes you more brittle, not more open. If you meditate and come out with less patience for your spouse, or if you read astrology charts just to feel superior, you're feeding the same loops under a new disguise. Dharma cuts through by bringing wisdom down to earth, patience, humility, compassion, honesty. After your next meditation, don't just ask, what did I see? Ask, how will I carry this into the next conversation, the next chore, the next disappointment? That's where light stops being counterfeit and starts being real. Chapter 8, 4 Lamps for Daily Freedom. The 4 lamps are like touchstones that bring Dharma down from the abstract into the body of daily life. Each lamp is short, simple, and designed to catch you at the hinge points of the day: morning, noon, afternoon, and night, when karma usually slips in unnoticed. Think of them as 4 Saturnian checkpoints, each one steadying your rhythm, each one training your nervous system to prefer clarity over compulsion. The lamp of stillness. Morning, 3 to 7 minutes. Sit quietly. Place your hand over your chest and feel the warmth there. Breathe until the heartbeat and breath begin to sync. Silently repeat, let me cause no harm today. It sounds simple, but the vow sets the tone like a compass needle pointing north. In astrology, this is like orienting yourself under the rising sun. How you set the first light directs the whole chart of your day. In Buddhist practice, this is Samma Sankappa, right intention, planted at dawn. The lamp of truth. Midday, 60 seconds. In the middle of emails, traffic, or lunch, pause. Ask yourself, what is being clung to in this very moment? Maybe it's the need to be right in an argument. Maybe it's the hunger to finish faster. Maybe it's the craving for recognition. Name it and relax the grip. This is like Mercury retrograde in astrology. Communications get messy because attachments run the show. The Buddha's teaching on clinging, Upadana, reminds us that every fixation is a rope tying us tighter to the wheel. Naming the knot weakens it. The lamp of compassion. Afternoon, 90 seconds. When fatigue and irritability creep in, choose one person who's difficult for you. Picture their face. Silently offer, May you be safe. May your mind be at ease. This isn't about excusing harm. It's about releasing your own heart from constant friction. Compassion is the alchemy that turns Saturn's heaviness into responsibility instead of resentment. In folk stories, even demons transform when shown sincere kindness. The Buddha himself, when faced with Angulimala, the bandit who had killed many, met him not with fear, but with compassion that changed the man's life. A minute of goodwill can shift lifetimes of karmic reflex. The lamp of wisdom. Night, 3 minutes. Sit with pen and paper. Write down one loop you fed today, one loop you starved, and one vow for tomorrow. Maybe the loop you fed was gossip. Maybe the loop you starved was procrastination. The vow doesn't need grandeur. Tomorrow I will pause before speaking in anger. This nightly lamp is Saturn's ledger. But instead of punishment, it's sober clarity. Pluto adds depth here too, by confronting shadow without denial. You compost old habits into fuel for new growth. In Buddhism, this is the essence of mindfulness, not judgment, but recollection and clear seeing. Over weeks, these 4 lamps begin to reprogram karma into dharma-aligned reflexes. Stillness steadies intention. Truth loosens the knots of clinging. Compassion softens the hard edges. Wisdom closes the day with honesty and resolve. Together they form a rhythm, like the 4 phases of the moon, each one balancing the others. In a village tale, an elder once told the young, "Carry a lamp in each direction of the day. One for the east when you rise. One for the high sun. One for the west when shadows lengthen. One for the night when you sleep." The young thought it was about literal fire. But with time they saw it was about tending the inner flame. Dharma isn't built in grand gestures, it's in these small, repeated illuminations that make the heart trustworthy. These lamps don't demand perfection. They train recognition. They slowly shift the weight of your life from unconscious karma to conscious dharma. And like any real light, they don't shout, they simply shine. Chapter 9. Stories that rewire. A. The tea masters blink. A swordsman storms into a village, blade rattling, demanding a duel with the local tea master. The tea master is terrified, his body trembling, but he recalls his teacher's words, "If fear must come, let it pass through fully." Instead of resisting, he bows, breathes deeply, and begins to make tea. Every motion, pouring water, whisking powder, setting down the cup, is done with complete presence. The swordsman watches, first irritated, then softened. His rage dissolves in the undeniable reality of attention without fear. In Buddhist terms, Mara's weapon here, violence and fantasy, loses its fuel when no one feeds it. In astrology, this moment is pure Saturn-Neptune balance. Saturn's discipline steadies the body. Neptune's softness melts the sword's illusion. Presence disarms more deeply than combat. B. The accountant's 2 ledgers. By day, she manages numbers on spreadsheets, balancing columns with precision. At night, she keeps another ledger, one of intentions. On one side, she records moments of small kindness, returning the grocery cart, answering her child with patience, smiling at a tired cashier. On the other side, she lists moments where she resisted harm, gossip left unsaid, judgment held back, anger allowed to cool. 6 months later, her anxiety, once constant, has softened, not because of a miracle, but because of 1,000 tiny exits from the karmic loop. This is Jupiter's wisdom in astrology, expansion not through grand gestures, but through the slow accumulation of goodness. The Buddha said, "Drop by drop, the jar is filled." Every small act is a drop that rewires the nervous system toward ease. C. The flood and the ladder. A flood rises, swallowing houses and streets. A man prays, "Save me, O Lord." A neighbor paddles by in a boat. The man refuses, waiting for a miracle. Hours later, another boat comes, again. He refuses. Finally, a helicopter hovers, but still he waves it away. He drowns. In the bardo of regret, he hears a voice, "I sent 3 boats." Dharma often works like this, ordinary, humble, almost disappointing to the ego. It's not thunderclaps or visions, it's in the daily raft of kindness. 1 honest apology, or 5 mindful breaths. But the ego, like a fiery Mars placement unchecked, always wants spectacle. Dharma, like steady Saturn, teaches that liberation is simple, repeatable, almost plain. The ladder is right there. But simplicity offends the craving for fireworks. Across these parables, the thread is clear. Presence dissolves aggression. Small acts accumulate into healing. And ordinary kindness often is the miracle. The mind wants drama, but Dharma works through patience, attention, and simplicity, the same qualities Saturn demands in astrology, and the same truths the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. Chapter 10, Closing Synthesis. Beyond the prison that never had walls. Call it the demiurge, call it Mara. Either way the move is the same. See what's actually here. Let it be felt without flinching. Loosen the fist, and train the mind to return to kindness on purpose. The bars aren't iron, they're habits and half-seen assumptions. When attention stabilizes and the heart softens, the bars stop being convincing. Think of a commuter stuck in traffic. The first story says, "This always happens to me." Shoulders rise, jaw locks, mind rehearses courtroom speeches. Another option. Feel the wheel in your hands, the breath in your ribs. The shape of the irritation is heat and pressure. Name it, anger, tightness, and let it pass through without feeding it. Same car, same road, different universe. That's not cosmic warfare, that's skillful means. A simple temple tale puts it cleanly. A monk asked, "Master, how do I escape the net?" The master handed him a broom. "Sweep." Hours later, the monk returned. "I still feel trapped." The master smiled. "Then sweep." Knowing you're sweeping, notice the urge to finish. The pride when it looks clean. The irritation when dust returns. See the net weave itself and stop weaving. It isn't the sweeping that binds us. It's the unseen hands tying knots around every action. Astrology can serve as a mirror here. Saturn measures. Neptune dreams. Pluto strips. When Saturn weighs on you, answer with steady practice. When Neptune enchants you, ask what remains kind after the fog lifts. When Pluto takes something away, bow to what can't be taken, your capacity to meet the moment honestly. The sky doesn't run your life, it reflects the work to be done. 5 minutes at night can tilt the axis of a week. The lamp in the heart is small on purpose, small enough to do, strong enough to work. 1. Sit, hand on chest. Breathe until your palm feels the warmth beneath it. Whisper once, "May all beings be safe." Don't force the feeling. Let the words be a soft light you can stand near. 2. Recall one moment of needless grasping. The extra scroll, the last word in an argument. The small light'll look good. See it without scolding. Exhale it, long and slow. 6 count-out breaths tell the body, "We're done here." 3. Recall one sincere kindness you offered. The door you held, the text you sent, the patience you chose. Bow to that seed, quietly, privately. The mind grows where it's thanked. 4. Choose one person to forgive for 30 seconds. Not a contract, not a reunion. Just 30 seconds without replaying the case. If anger surges, widen the breath and say, "May your mind be at ease." You're loosening the knot in your own hand. 5. Sleep with a whisper. In this breath, I choose Dharma. Not forever, just this breath. Let the body carry the choice into the dark like a small lamp. If you wake to worry at 2 a.m., add a field repair. Hand back on chest. Count 5 cycles of 4 in, 6 out. Then repeat the line, "Nothing to fix in this breath." Most nights, that's enough to slip you back under. There's a folk story of a woman who visited a shrine every new moon. She asked the statue for courage, for clarity, for a sign. 1 month, the caretaker replaced the statue with a mirror. She knelt, lifted her eyes, and finally saw the answer looking back, tired, dignified, capable. She laughed and walked home lighter. The mirror was not a trick, it was the point. Beyond the prison that never had walls is a room you've always been in, this breath, this body, this chance to cause less harm and love a little more. Practice is proof. If this steadied you, keep the lamp lit. Which loop are you quietly exiting this week? Name it. The rope you braid for yourself is the one someone else will grab when the river rises. Suffering doesn't always roar like bombs or floods. Most days it moves quietly, disguised as the small habits that keep us looping. If tonight you spotted even one link in your own chain, let your heart soften. See a little more clearly. Grip a little less. Love a little more. Freedom isn't loud. It grows from the tiny choices we repeat. Breath by breath, day by day. In the spirit of the Buddha, may all beings facing disaster war, and any kind of hardship be safe, sheltered, and held in calm. May fear ripen into wisdom. May hatred be transformed into compassion. And may division give way to understanding. May those who serve, first responders, caregivers, volunteers, be sustained with strength, clarity, and unflagging kindness. And wherever we are, may each of us light one small lamp at home, a gentle word, an offered hand, a mindful breath. If this message resonated, support the work, like the video, subscribe to Dharma Veins, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next practice. Share this with someone who could use a steady light. And before you sleep, try the lamp in the heart, 5 mindful breaths, a blessing for a place in pain, and the whisper, in this breath, I choose Dharma. I'd love to hear from you. This week, what loop are you quietly stepping out of? What small, practical act can you take today to ease suffering, for yourself or for someone caught in a storm or a conflict? Looking at the astrology of your life, its cycles, limits, and tests, what lesson has helped your heart grow rounder and more humane? Drop your reflections below. Your story might be the rope someone else reaches for when the waters rise.